I've been a soccer fan my whole life, so when I found out that the World Cup would be coming to Vancouver, I was pretty hyped. What I didn't know is just how frustrating it would be to get tickets to a match. Quick aside, I will say soccer rather than football in this video because with my accent, I sound like such a tryhard. Much the same way that I won't say Cesar Azpilicueta or Asier Yaramendi. Like, it sounds wrong. When I first saw the lottery system was opening up for tickets, I excitedly registered my interest. Now, I'm used to, convoluted and somewhat shady ticketing practices, but nothing could have prepared me for how bad the World Cup 2026 ticketing process would be. I feel like I've put my information into what feels like 3 or 4 different lotteries at this point, and obviously I haven't heard a thing. But I don't know anyone who has heard a thing or gotten a ticket. And yet, everyone I know somehow made it to Taylor Swift. Whoop. It feels like as Vancouverites, we're paying for the party, but we don't even get on the guest list. And as I dug more and more into the FIFA ticketing process, I got increasingly confused about how they managed to spend 4 years developing a new process, only for it to be so inconvenient and anti-consumer. Until I realized this was almost certainly all on purpose, and then it made sense. I'm gonna break down my problems with FIFA's ticketing and pricing system. Do you want to guess who didn't get an email? If you're not familiar with how ticketing for big events such as the World Cup tends to work, well, let me fill you in, because otherwise what I talk about next won't really make sense. How it works is they run a series of lotteries, and people who are lucky enough to win get the chance to buy tickets. There was a lot of conflicting information about this year's World Cup tickets, so let me break it down for you. The first phase of Ticket Lottery took place in September, and about 4.5 million people entered that phase. And FIFA reports that they sold roughly 1 million out of the 7 million total tickets for the World Cup in that sale. Phase 2 is currently underway, so people entered this one at the end of October and emails went out in mid-November. Phase 3 is the random selection draw, which will happen after all of the qualifiers are done and the World Cup draw takes place, which is around December 5th. And the final phase will be like a first come, first serve, all remaining tickets have to go sort of thing, and I highly suspect that all of the tickets will have sold out by this time. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, I think this system sucks, and it sucks for a lot of reasons. For so many, in fact, that I think it must have been 100% intentional. And that's what I'm going to detail in this video. The first I heard of tickets going on sale, it was something quite familiar to anyone who's been to a music festival or a concert before, and that was a credit card holder presale. This one specifically being a Visa card holder presale. The fact I even considered getting another credit card that I wouldn't use just to get tickets to the World Cup kind of speaks to how effective this type of marketing is. But all it really is at its core is forced corporate consumption. You have to pay a sponsor to get the chance to pay FIFA. Lenovo is a tier 1 FIFA sponsor too. Why not do a pre-sale where you let me use my ThinkPad with the little nipple mouse or curse thing to get a ticket? There were 3 waves of that credit card holder pre-sale, and they sold 1 million tickets throughout that phase. Apart from an unspecified amount of tickets sold during a small post-country preference sale, you're competing with people across the whole world to get a ticket to a match. And look, don't get me wrong, I don't think I have any divine right to get a ticket to a World Cup game. That would be ridiculous. But the people of BC are shelling out between $85 and $145 million to host this event, and there's no resident pre-sale or preference at any point in the sale process. There's a precedent for local subsidized tickets. For example, in 2014 in Brazil, 20% of stadiums were reserved for locals at a subsidized price. Russia had resident-only ticketing, and also Qatar had resident-only ticketing in their sales process too. So even though there is that supposed host nation sales window or whatever FIFA are calling it for this World Cup, there are absolutely no guarantees for the number of tickets involved in that, and it feels more like a placating measure than it is any kind of effort to get locals and residents to the matches. If you do happen to get lucky and win the lottery, well, then you do get some options. Each lottery winner is able to buy up to 4 tickets to 10 matches. That's 40 tickets total. This allows for scalpers and whales to clean up the tickets and take away the opportunity to go to a World Cup match for genuine fans. This allocation encourages speculation rather than distribution, Wouldn't it make sense to cut the total limit in half, or even less than that, to allow more people to have a chance to see a match? The tickets will clearly still sell, so either this is incredibly lazy or by design. We'll get to that. Next year is set to be the most expensive World Cup ever. No, not for the host countries constructing stadiums with migrant labor, but for the fans. Let's talk about ticket prices. You know I love a graph. Let's do some comparisons. This World Cup is the most expensive one in history, and it is not even close. FIFA classes tickets into 4 categories, and each of these 4 categories comes with a price. We will use the cheapest tickets, non-Canada group stage matches, just to make sure we're comparing apples to apples in this section. Just remember that these are the very cheapest tickets available at this World Cup. Category 1 are the most sought after tickets. They'll run you $574, making up the whole lower bowl of BC Place. There are roughly 27,965 of these. Category 2, located in the upper bowl along the touchlines, go for $434. I estimate there are 15,584. Category 3 tickets are upper bowl on the goal lines for $196, around 8,900 seats. But I said there would be 4 categories, right? But I've already finished the color by numbers. Where could they possibly be? Category 4, the famous $84 to $105 tickets, are here. No, this isn't a joke. I've counted them by hand using a seating map, and there are about 804 of them. This means the total percentage of tickets that are Category 4 are under 1.5% of BC Place.
I have the feeling the Vancouver people, they accept not winning.
FIFA COO Heimo Shergi would not say how many of the $60 tickets will be available, nor what percentage of a given stadium will be considered Category 4 seats, though he did say that percentage will, quote, not be insignificant. I guess that one man's not insignificant is another man's very insignificant. Now, let's compare this year's prices to inflation-adjusted ticket prices of previous World Cups. As you can see, every single category of ticket is not just a bit more expensive, but costs significantly more than in the past. But remember, this is just a comparison of the cheapest matches to attend at each of these World Cups. Let's jump to the knockout rounds, where we will compare the cheapest round of 16 tickets. These price differentials are actually even more stark, with the cheapest tickets soaring almost 10x. New in this World Cup is also a round of 32, which actively doubles the number of knockout matches at the World Cup from 16 to 32. We have nothing to compare these prices to, obviously, but here they are for reference with the 2022 quarter-final prices beside them. Finally, the final. This has never been a cheap match to attend, but the jump is so dramatic here. As you can see, every single category of ticket for every type of match is not just a bit more expensive, but costs double to several times more than 4 years ago.
Today, I have very strong feelings.
The pure greed of FIFA here is almost mind-boggling. Keep in mind that this is the first World Cup with the new expanded format, which features 40 more matches than any previous World Cup ever held. That means without changing ticket prices, the revenue would already be 65% higher than any previous World Cup on that alone. But that wasn't enough. To increase ticket prices by 500% is one thing. I mean, I don't think anyone was arguing that tickets should be the same price now that they were 4, 8, 12 years ago. But FIFA have taken it to the next level with dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing means that ticket prices will change in response to demand as they are sold. So you'd be quite familiar with this if you've ever tried to take an Uber from downtown at 2 a.m. Ask me. 10,000? The variable pricing mechanisms are shrouded in secrecy, with FIFA giving nothing away as to how they're calculating the price increases. The assumption was that most price adjustments would occur after the December 5th World Cup draw, when matchups will be set and demand will increase for games involving popular teams. But on Friday, in the second window of the very first lottery phase, fans logged into FIFA's ticketing portal and already saw some prices that were slightly higher than the ones first revealed on Wednesday. On Monday, in the third window, there were at least a few more upticks. These adjustments were only figured out by The Athletic by using the receipts from different fans who bought tickets on different days and won different lotteries. The information to how much these tickets were costing was never provided by FIFA to the public at any point. It feels like when you call your cell company and they say that they're experiencing high call volume. FIFA also seemed to have a problem with the term dynamic pricing, as seen on their customer support website. FIFA is not implementing a dynamic pricing model for FIFA World Cup 26 tickets, as prices will not be automatically modified. To me, this is a distinction without a difference. I mean, to the end user, all they see is the price increase. So whether or not it is a human or an automatic algorithm calculating the price changes, it's still surge pricing. It's so painfully clear that FIFA are obsessed with not looking like the bad guys, to the point that they're arguing over technicalities and wordings on the internet to disguise from the fact that face value tickets cease to exist within 24 hours of the first sale. The fact that all of these increased ticket prices are hidden behind a payment portal and are invisible to the general public is embarrassing, of course, but that's before resale.
It can't go on like this, can it?
It can.
Ticket resale is nothing new at the World Cup, but this year actually marks a special innovation in FIFA's official ticket resale platform. Resale ticket prices are uncapped in Canada and the USA. See, in previous World Cups, they would cap the price that you could resell a ticket at the face value, and then FIFA would collect a 10% fee on each resale of a ticket. In 2026, this is all changed, with uncapped resale prices, and then FIFA collecting 15% from the seller, as well as 15% from the buyer for 30% total. So for example, a ticket that is resold for $1,000, FIFA would take $150 from the seller and pay out $850 to them. And then it would also take $150 from the buyer, who would be charged $1,150 for the ticket. So FIFA would pocket $300 off of that $1,000 ticket sale. So put simply, FIFA will collect 30% of every dollar that is spent on a resale ticket. FIFA's argument for not limiting resale prices is that in more unregulated markets like Canada and the USA, where ticket sales tend to be quite a free-for-all, if they were to cap it at face value, then people would just flock to third-party websites like SeatGeek, StubHub, etc.
The fact that secondary market activity is legal in certain markets renders it necessary to have a ticketing model that reflects our responsibility to provide secure access to fans, while at the same time ensuring as much value as possible is retained. The more income is generated via ticket sales, the more FIFA funds are invested back into football.
And I mean, this is just kind of pathetic. This type of weaponized incompetence from a supposed nonprofit which turns over billions and billions of dollars per year is kind of just a slap in the face to anyone with common sense. Pretending that there is no way to prevent people from going to third-party sellers, like UEFA have successfully done for quite a while, is at best incompetence and at worst an outright lie. Even their justification for tripling resale fees just sounds like a cop-out.
As acknowledged by external ticketing experts, resale fees align with industry trends across various sports and entertainment sectors.
Yeah, so what? People are tired of having bad things justified to them by the fact that other people have it worse. Just because someone else litters in the park, it doesn't mean that I'm going to do it as well. So, ticket sales are locked behind lotteries, which are attached to little short time periods for purchase windows. Prices are higher. There are almost none of the advertised, quote, affordable tickets, of which FIFA have already increased the price due to exceeding demand. There's no longer a cap on resale prices, of which FIFA now take triple the amount of commission that they used to do. I didn't even mention how parking passes now cost more than Category 3 tickets did in 2022. It sure sounds like an awful lot of ways that they're making ticketing worse to distribute and more inconvenient for the fan, doesn't it? I contend that this is all intentional and that FIFA really think we are all so stupid that nobody will call them out on it. Every little minor inconvenience that FIFA will chalk up to happenstance or outside industry pressures, like industry trends for resale fees or uncapping ticket resale prices, or the arbitrarily set 40 tickets per person limit, feels like a coordinated plan to strategically extract the maximum value for each ticket for each fan that FIFA could possibly achieve, all the while minimizing public outrage and outsourcing that frustration to third parties who will be the ones imposing these insane resale prices. FIFA want you to feel FOMO. If you win the lottery, you better buy as many tickets as possible, but if you don't win it, well, then you're even more desperate for the next batch. I mean, have you thought about why they chose 40 tickets per person as the limit? Putting such a high maximum amount of tickets for lottery winners actively incentivizes scalping and reselling, because FIFA want to collect that 30% of resale dollars that they're now entitled to with their new system. With the markups that are now happening with secondary market tickets, FIFA can effectively sell each ticket 2 or 3 times without facing any of the flack of raising face value 2 to 3 times. I mean, say each lottery winner was only allowed to buy 4 tickets. Then 10 times more families or individuals would have a shot at getting a ticket, and they'd be so much more likely to hold on to them and actually go to the event. Even if scalping still did happen, people would be so much more likely to hold on to their own tickets that speculation would at least be limited to batches of 4. Remember, FIFA said the secondary market is, quote, necessary to have a ticketing model that reflects our responsibility to provide secure access to fans. If providing access to the fans was the goal, they would lower the amount of tickets that each person could buy, and then more fans would have access. If one person buys all 40 of their allocated tickets and resells 36 of them for the 2 to 10 times markup that we've seen so far on the secondary marketplace, FIFA stand to collect 3 to 4 times the face value of the ticket without raising its price and pissing off the fan base even more than they already have.
A Category 4 ticket to the final, in the way upper corner of MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, was listed at $25,000, having gone for $2,030 on the primary market 1 day earlier. FIFA would take $7,500 in fees on this resold ticket if purchased.
How much money is enough for these people? Every mechanism and facet of this ticketing process has been carefully designed to weaponize people's passion for the game against them and extract maximum value. Which brings me to the next tool that they're employing: the loot boxification of World Cup tickets. With FIFA leaning increasingly into gambling sponsorships, it should come as no surprise that getting World Cup tickets is now more akin to gambling than it is buying tickets. As of right now, when you win the lottery to get the opportunity to buy tickets, you don't know several things. I'm grabbing the clipboard for this one, it'll get long. 1. You do not know your actual row or seat when you buy your ticket. Have a look at Category 1, for example. You could be right behind the goal or up in the corner. There's a huge variance in quality between these different seats, and yet they're the same price. You still do not know which teams you'll be seeing. Apart from 3 matches for each host nation, there are no confirmed matchups for group stage tickets, which means that right now you're buying blind. You could be buying a ticket to Korea 2-0 Germany, or conversely, you could watch a 0-0 snooze fest between Qatar and Cabo Verde. You're not guaranteed to be seated beside your friends and family. Even tickets from the same transaction might be assigned in different rows, sections, or areas of the stadium. Maybe they try to seat the groups together, but come on, this feels insane they can't guarantee that.
I don't do if, buts and maybes, I do absolutes.
4. Tickets are randomly assigned without paying any attention to the holder's affiliation or support. Big Dave from the UK will be sat next to Joshua from the USA. Bosh! But I think about classic rivalries, right? Like, you can't have Brazilian fans and Argentinian fans intermingling. It makes no sense at all. That sounds quite dangerous, if anything, or it might just completely neuter the atmosphere. All of these factors combine to essentially make buying a ticket a completely blind experience. It also incentivizes even more speculation and scalping, because people want to spread bet their tickets in case they don't get a match that they're interested in seeing. Because you can always sell the others, right? Buy 40 tickets and sell 32. You can maybe even cover your rent for a couple months. But don't worry, if you don't want to buy blind, FIFA have a solution for you. NFTs. No, I'm not even kidding. FIFA sells NFTs, which will guarantee you the chance to buy tickets for a match.
On their FIFA Collect platform, fans can buy RTBs, or Right to Buy Collectibles. These are basically NFTs which, when bought, eventually open a conversion window where you can use your RTB to buy a ticket. You have to use the RTB in this window because after it closes, your RTB expires and is no longer usable. RTBs are mainly acquired in glory drops, where a specific RTB can be bought. Beware, these are highly sought and sell out quickly. Surprise packs, which contain a mix of collectibles and rewards, and some contain an RTB. No guarantees though.
They can also be bought and sold on the FIFA Collect marketplace.
RTBs are convertible to either 1 or 2 tickets to a specific match. For example, this RTB, which you can acquire for $425 USD, gives you the opportunity to buy 2 tickets to see Canada play To Be Determined on June 24th.
But I said loot box, right? Well, yeah, when you buy an RTB, there's no way to tell which seats you'll unlock the ability to buy. The available price points and ticket options are only revealed to you during a specific conversion window when you redeem your RTB to buy your tickets. So this means that you're equally likely to spend $600 on an RTB to get access to 2 $200 tickets as you would be to spend $600 on an RTB to get 2 $600 tickets. So basically you're betting $600 for the right to a mystery shopping cart.
There are other RTBs which are nation-specific for knockout matches. So, for example, an England World Cup final RTB, where you can bet on a specific team making it to a specific round and buy the right to a ticket in that match. If the team doesn't make it, you just spent hundreds on a JPEG.
This is straight up gambling. So let's say you have an RTB for like a quarterfinal, and let's say that it's a desirable matchup, like, I don't know, Germany versus Argentina. You might have really scored by locking in your ability to buy a ticket before the match was decided. But will dynamic pricing affect your ticket? Will they throw you in category 4 when they realize you have the right to a really valuable ticket? Keeping fans in the dark about pricing, seating arrangements, and RTB rights themselves with absolutely no oversight or guarantees feels quite exploitative of the FOMO that FIFA are encouraging. If I hit it here, you have to subscribe. Well, you heard the man. FIFA does not care about fans. This has been obvious since Qatar! But this latest World Cup is just a coalescence of years of fine-tuned, optimized money collecting. And you know what bothers me more than FIFA doing a scummy profiteering ticketing racket? It's FIFA doing a scummy profiteering ticketing racket while at the same time pretending they're creating an equitable service for fans. How they're growing the game or giving everyone an opportunity. I mean, just listen to this.
A FIFA statement said, "The pricing model adopted generally reflects the existing and developing market practice in our co-hosts for major entertainment and sporting events, soccer included. We are focused on ensuring fair access to our game for existing but also prospective fans and are offering group stage tickets starting at $60 US, a very competitive price point for a major global sporting event in the US. The fact that secondary market activity is legally open renders it necessary to have a ticketing model that reflects our responsibility to provide access to fans while at the same time ensuring as much value as possible is retained for redistribution into the game around the world."
He has to go, blood. He has to go, blood.
The way that FIFA couches this talk about maximizing revenue, among other topics like women's soccer or youth soccer and other things that are universally agreed on as being good for the game, is honestly quite disgusting. All of these initiatives were possible on $7.6 billion the last World Cup cycle and $5 billion from 2018. Are we seriously supposed to believe that the $13 billion expected from this World Cup will be put to good use? They claim that they will spend $11.5 billion, or over 90% of this expected revenue, to, quote, investments back in the game to significantly boost football development. No, this sounds like a good thing, obviously, but in FIFA legalese, investments back into the game just means spending money on themselves. Every single operating cost, from salaries to travel to PR to marketing, it's all filed under the same thing, football development, in their books.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
The grants that actually make it to smaller nations make up barely 20% of that budget. All of the rest remains in the ecosystem. So when FIFA say they're redistributing the money into the game, they're actually redistributing it to themselves. A closed loop with very little accountability. So after leafing through all the information and ticketing documentation I could find, the only conclusion I could really come to is that this is the most monetized, profit-driven, anti-consumer World Cup to ever take place. Well, take place so far. As a fan, the World Cup has always been kind of magic. It's a few weeks where life feels a little bit lighter and there's exciting tidbits of news all the time, every day. The community and togetherness is something that every fan looks forward to at the World Cup because there's narratives that follow teams and players, rivalries, and controversies that you can argue with your friends about. It's also a time where you just get so many good excuses to hang out with your friends and put on a game. And FIFA know this. They know that as soon as the matches start, all of the uproar about profiteering practices, extortionate ticket prices, and the various different ways that they've monetized the fans, all of that anger will start to melt away. And then they'll have 3 years to spend $11 billion on themselves, sell NFTs, and figure out new ways to profiteer over the next batch of suckers in 2030. I wanted to find some kind of optimistic path forward, or some kind of silver lining for the situation, but honestly, everyone knows FIFA are like this. They are too big to fail, and if anyone were to boycott them, there's another yuppie willing to take their place at whatever price they ask. I want to cope and say, I'll just go to the viewing parties and I'll enjoy myself much more. But that just sounds like sour grapes. So have I just made a rage bait rant about an organization that everybody already knew is crooked? Well, yes, I guess. But am I glad I got it off my chest? I mean, yes as well. I suppose the point I do want to make is that if you tried to get a ticket and you couldn't, it's really not your fault. And there's a whole lot more against you than you might expect. Every single frustration you experienced is by design, and FIFA is completely complicit in all of it. World's game has been squeezed absolutely dry by executives and suits, stripped of its community spirit, and refashioned into a financial investment vehicle for the global elite. But hey, I heard from a reliable source that it's coming home, so watch party at mine.